On the last episode of the QC Step podcast, I talked about the Day of Transition 2014. On this episode, I'm going to talk about this conference again by going over the things that you can do to get the most out of this event. It's the week of October 20th through the 24th, and you're watching the QC Step podcast. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the QC Step podcast. I'm Corey Finneran, and as I mentioned on the last episode, as we come up on the Day of Transition, these episodes will be focused on that event. If you're not part of our district and you won't be attending the Day of Transition, you'll probably want to skip this episode. Also, the next episode of the podcast will come out on November 12th. So I'll be at conferences next week, and then the week after that is the Day of Transition. So I will return with a new episode on November 12th. And unless anything else comes up, I think I know what I'll be talking about on that episode. I was at Mercer County High School last week, and I was helping a class set up their LinkedIn profiles, and a student asked me a question about her situation, and she wanted to apply for a seasonal job, but she's not available to work until after a certain date. So my plan is that on the next episode, I will talk about applying for a job and the different things to consider and to think about when it comes to the timing of when you'll be able to start that job. You can connect with QC Step through your Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are at QC Step on Twitter and Instagram, and you can join our Facebook group by going to qcstep.com/Facebook. And don't forget that anytime you're filling out an application and you're not sure how to answer something, or if you're preparing yourself for an interview and you're not sure how you would answer a question that you think that you might face in that interview, then reach out to me on our Facebook and Twitter. I get alerts sent to my phone anytime there's a message on there, and this is a good resource for you to use. Not you don't have to send a message, but if you post in the group, then I'll see it. So it's pretty easy to do that. And if you don't have any questions right away or right now, go ahead and join the Facebook group so that you can see if other students have questions. Then you can learn things for the future. You know, when you're going to fill out applications in the future, you might be able to refer back to things that you've seen in that group. So the Day of Transition is coming up on November 4th, and it will be at Augustana College again this year. If you're planning on attending this event, go back and watch the last episode. That's episode 69. And on that episode, I went through the schedule and I explained what the purpose of the Day of Transition is and what you can expect on that day and what you can expect to happen that day. And so then on this episode, I want to talk with you about your responsibilities for this event. And I want to go over a few things that you can do to get the most out of this day. So I would encourage you to not treat this as a day where you just get to leave school. Don't treat it as a field trip. The purpose of this day is to get you more prepared for your life after high school. Your future is very important to you, and it should be important to you. And I would encourage you to see the Day of Transition as an opportunity to help make your employment situation and in turn your life more successful. So what can you do to get the most out of the Day of Transition? Well, first off, and this seems like kind of common sense, pay attention. The information that is available to you at this event it's not information that you typically get in your classrooms from your teachers. And it's not information that you typically get from me here on the QC Step podcast. So don't miss out on this opportunity to get information while you can. As I said on the last episode, there will be hiring managers at the day of transition. There will be, these managers will be doing mock interviews with you and telling you about the types of jobs that they have available for students like yourselves. And you'll probably learn exactly what they're looking for in an applicant and during an interview. This is a huge opportunity for you to know exactly what hiring managers are looking for, and you will be able to use that information when you have an interview. This is kind of like getting the answers to a test ahead of time. So listen and pay attention when we're meeting with those hiring managers. The second thing you can do to get the most out of the day of transition is to take notes. Everyone will receive a portfolio, a QC Step portfolio, and inside there's a pad of paper. And we're giving you these so that you'll use them and use them at this event. So if you hear hiring managers say something that you don't want to forget, then write it down. And if you're in a session with Bernice, she's going to be giving you lots of very useful information. Take notes and write it down. You might think that you'll be able to remember everything, but this is going to be a long day and you won't be able to remember everything. And it's something that I always like to do, and I would suggest that you try this too, is maybe about a week after I go to a conference, I sit down and I look back at my notes, and it usually jogs my memory and it reminds me about something that I had forgotten. So take good notes and review those notes. The third thing that you can do to get the most out of the day of transition is to be engaged. And I mentioned that you will be doing mock interviews with hiring managers. Take advantage of this opportunity. Prepare for this ahead of time and really do the best that you can. If you go into that situation unprepared, then the feedback that you're going to get from the hiring managers on how you did will probably be vague and general information. But if you prepare for this mock interview and you do the best that you can, the feedback that you'll get back from the hiring manager will be more specific. And if you're prepared, it may be a matter of kind of polishing some of your answers up. And if you really want to be engaged and take this serious, my suggestion would be to dress for this event like you would for an interview. There will be hiring managers there, and hiring managers that somewhere along the line you may actually interview with for a real position with their business. And this is your first impression with 8 hiring managers in the Quad Cities. So take advantage of this opportunity and show that you're serious about your job search and your future. You may have the opportunity to speak with representatives from Blackhawk College and other schools that offer certification programs. And if you have questions about certification programs or just general community college questions, this is your chance to get those questions answered. We are bringing in these people to make it easier for you to get the information. So don't sit back and let the opportunity pass by. Be engaged and get all of your questions answered. If you're in Bernice's sessions, you should be engaged there too. Pay attention. When she asks the group questions, provide answers. The entire group will benefit from an engaged and a productive discussion. And I don't want to throw too much at you as you prepare for this event, but I think that if you keep these things in mind and if you pay attention, you take notes, and if you are engaged with what's going on, I think you will put yourself in a much better position to get the most out of the day of transition. As I said earlier, this will be the last episode of the QC Step podcast until November 12th. But don't forget, if you ever have any questions on employment, I've probably done an episode on that topic. This is our 70th episode of the podcast. And if you go to qcstep.com/list, then you'll see all of the topics that we've done episodes on, and you can click to go directly to that particular episode. I hope this episode on getting the most out of the Day of Transition conference will help you accomplish that. And I will see a lot of you at the Day of Transition. And I'll be back on November 12th with another episode of the QC Step podcast.